The whisper beneath the dust. The air was thick with heat, dust, and anticipation. Jack Monroe wiped the sweat from his brow with the back of his dusty glove. His breath echoed inside his helmet as he stepped deeper into the sealed chamber, touched for what looked like centuries, maybe longer. His boots crunched over cracked obsidian tiles, blackened with age. He wasn't supposed to be here alone, not without Dr. Vasquez or the rest of the Peru team. But the chamber had opened after the last sonic scan, and curiosity had a way of ignoring protocol. His flashlight beam swept the room and froze. At the center stood a statue, tall, slender, humanoid, but not. Its skin looked like metallic ivory, as though bone had been forged with titanium. Veins of glowing blue pulsed along its collarbone and forehead like faint circuits. Its face was smooth, eerily symmetrical, with slanted eyes sealed shut and lips slightly parted. Jack blinked, breath-catching. That was beautiful, alien, unquestionably feminine. He stepped forward, something primal tugging at the back of his mind. He laughed to himself, voice echoing against the carved walls. "This what you wanted, Vasquez? Some big reveal? Fine." He pointed to his helmet cam. "I'm about to make history or get cursed. Either way, I'm trending tomorrow." Jack leaned in, smirking. "Hello, Miss E.T." And before reason could catch up, he kissed the statue a gentle peck. Just a joke, a dare to no one but himself. For a second, nothing. Then the lips moved, stone cracked, dust flaked. The eyelids slowly opened. They glowed silver, like twin stars burning from within. And then a whisper, not in the air, but inside his skull. "Wish to be my mate." Jack stumbled backward, heart hammering. What the hell? The chamber trembled. The floor pulsed under his boots. The alien's eyes stared straight into him, unblinking. The room grew colder, like the air itself was shivering. Symbols on the walls began glowing soft at first, then pulsing in sync with his heartbeat. He backed into a pillar, gasping. This is a prank. Some ancient recording. Some blood dripped from his nose. Jack touched it and stared in horror. His vision blurred. The symbols on the walls spun and twisted like they were alive. The statue took a step forward, not fell. Stepped. Her feet cracked the stone as they shifted. The sound wasn't mechanical. It was organic, like muscles remembering movement. Her arms lowered. Her eyes shimmered brighter. Jack reached for his cum. "Base, this is Jack." The cum screamed with static. He looked up. She was inches away now, staring at him with a calm curiosity, like he was the artifact, not her. Her voice returned, now out loud. It was melodic and echoing, yet sharp like metal scraping across silk. "Your biology is ... unstable, not pure. But enough remains." Jack's voice cracked. What are you?" She tilted her head. Her lips curled slightly. "Yours." Suddenly, a gust of force blew through the chamber. Lights in Jack's helmet shorted out. He collapsed to the floor, gasping. His vision swam with symbols he didn't understand, but somehow felt meant for him. The last thing he saw before blacking out was her reaching toward him, her hand glowing with the same eerie blue light that now danced across the chamber walls. Hours later, double quotes Jack, Jack. He shot up with a gasp, drenched in sweat, lungs burning. Someone grabbed his shoulders. "Dr. Vasquez, you idiot. What the hell were you doing down there alone? You've been missing for 5 hours." Jack blinked at the sunlight slicing through the tent flaps. Outside, chaos buzzed, people shouting, equipment sparking, something in the air. Wrong. He opened his mouth to speak but paused. His tongue felt heavier. Then he looked down at his chest. Just over his heart was a glowing imprint, a blue hand-shaped mark, pulsing faintly beneath his skin. Jack grabbed Vasquez's arm. "The statue, it moved. It spoke to me." She stared at him, confused. "Jack, there's no statue. The chamber was empty when we found you. The whole room was scorched." He paled. No, she was there. I kissed her. She asked to be my mate." Vasquez's face twisted in concern. "You need rest. Your vitals are all over the place. And the scanners picked up some kind of radiation from your body we've never seen before. It's not human." Suddenly, every monitor in the tent sparked. Lights flickered. From the base of the excavation site, a low hum began rising like a choir of machines waking up. And from the chamber entrance came footprints, not human. She who waited below Jack hadn't slept since he'd woken up. Not because of fear but because every time he blinked, he saw her. The alien woman from the chamber, Melira, the way she looked at him, the way her voice slid into his thoughts like it had always belonged there. Even now, sitting under the tent flap with the Peruvian sun warming the cracked soil beneath his boots, Jack could still feel that imprint glowing faintly on his chest. "You kissed a statue," he muttered to himself, rubbing his face. "It blinked, whispered in your mind, walked off, and now nobody believes you. Not even Vasquez." She was watching him closely now, as if she expected him to start speaking in tongues or tearing down the site. They'd run every scan, no statue, no energy residue, no biological remains. The chamber where he passed out looked like it had been burned clean, but they'd found something else, something far more disturbing. "Come look at this," Vasquez said, stepping into the tent and tossing a tablet on the table beside him. "We rescanned the glyphs on the walls around the chamber. Most of it's just unknown alien script, but this," she enlarged a specific section. It was a sketch of a humanoid former, woman-like being with luminous eyes, and beside it, a symbol that resembled a spiral, and a human double helix. Jack stared. "DNA," she nodded. "Part of the language describes a fusion process, some kind of selection ritual involving genetic compatibility. According to this, the statue at whoever it was waiting for a match. Not random, targeted." Jack leaned in closer. "So I matched something. Somehow, yes. But here's what makes zero sense. Those glyphs are over 1,000 years old, Jack, and they reference specific sequences that weren't even discovered by humans until the 21st century. Jack felt the hairs on his arms rise. She wasn't waiting for just anyone. She was waiting for someone like me. Vasquez folded her arms, frowning. "And now you've got a glowing alien palm print on your chest, and no sign of her. I don't like it." Jack didn't either, not just because it was weird, but because he missed her, and he had no reason to. That night, after everyone had turned in, Jack lay on his cot, staring at the ceiling of his tent, unable to sleep again. That whisper, ... double quotes, "You wish to be my mate." She didn't ask it like a question, more like confirmation, as if she already knew his answer. Suddenly, the air in the tent went silent, dead silent. The hum of equipment vanished. The insects outside stopped chirping. A faint glow pushed in under the flap of the tent. Jack sat up slowly. He stepped outside barefoot, shirt clinging to him, heart pounding. The desert wind had stopped. Not even dust stirred. It was like time had frozen, and there at the edge of the camp, near the chamber entrance, stood her, no longer stiff, no longer stone. Her skin was a pale, metallic silver, now soft with faint bioluminescence. Her eyes shimmered like distant galaxies, and strands of something like hair flowed in the still air, though no wind moved. She stepped toward him, barefoot, silent, and her voice entered his thoughts again. "Your mind resists, but your cells remember." Jack swallowed. "You were gone. They said you were never there. They could not see me. You did. You awakened me. You said you were waiting for a mate. Why me? Because the seed of your kind came from mine, because I am the last. And you are not the first to forget." Jack felt like his body was splitting in two, half terrified, half drawn to her, like gravity itself bent around her presence. "Melira," he whispered, and he didn't know how he knew that name, but she nodded like she had always been waiting to hear him say it. "You are correct." She extended a hand toward him, palm up. "Come." They walked back into the chamber. This time, the glyphs glowed the moment he stepped in, reacting to his presence. The chamber was empty before, but now, below it, a spiral staircase had opened, as if it had sensed his return. Jack hesitated. "You want me to go down there? Your blood has unlocked what time has buried. The vessel below remembers." He followed her downward, step after step, until the earth turned to metal. The stone walls gave way to black panels pulsing with light. Strange shapes hovered above them, floating symbols or tools, he couldn't tell. They reached a vast underground room, the size of a football field, and at its center was a ship. Not a ship like anything he'd seen before. It had no clear engines, no wings. It was a smooth, oval-shaped structure embedded into the walls and floor, like a living thing curled in sleep. Jack's breath caught. This was under us the whole time. Not a ship, Melira said. A bond temple, a vault of memory, and escape. She walked forward, barefoot on the strange metal, and turned to face him. "Your presence activates it, but it requires two Jack stepped closer. What happens if I say yes? She tilted her head slightly. Then I will show you the truth. Of me, of you, of what your world once was. And if I say no, then I will sleep again, alone, until another 1,000 years pass, or none ever come. Jack stared at her. She wasn't robotic. She wasn't even fully alien anymore. Something in her expressions, her voice felt deeply real, almost human. Why do I feel like I know you? He asked quietly. Malira stepped close, inches away now, because your kind was shaped by mine. Because my blood once touched the ocean of your origin. Because I remember the look in your eyes, even when you forgot my face. Jack reached up and placed his palm against hers. The glyphs in the room surged with light. The air became warmer. The ship stirred dots suddenly. From above, sirens blared. Voice over the radio. Jack, we've got movement in the chamber. Something just opened underground. What the hell is going on? Malira's eyes locked onto his. They cannot interfere, or it will all be lost again. Jack turned to the sound of boots approaching above. I have to explain. They will not understand. But if they see me, they will fear me. They will destroy everything, including you. Suddenly, she stepped backward and vanished into the light of the ship. A soft pulse echoed through the chamber. Vasquez appeared at the top of the staircase, wide-eyed. Jack, what is this? What's down there? Jack shouted up, stay back, but it was too late. Vasquez and 2 other researchers were already descending, flashlights cutting through the pulsing air. One of them aimed his light toward the massive ship. The second it hit the surface, the entire room screamed. Not with sound, with pressure, like their thoughts were being crushed. Vasquez collapsed, grabbing her head. One of the others fell unconscious. The third tried to run, only to freeze mid-step as light rippled from the ship toward him. But Jack was untouched. The ship knew him. It protected him. Malira's voice returned, urgent now. They are not bonded. The temple is rejecting them. The walls began to shake. The ship was waking up. Lights rose from its hull, forming a circle of symbols in the air. One of them pulsed, the same spiral that had been marked next to the DNA helix on the tablet. Jack looked back at Vasquez. You have to get out, now. But what is it? Jack, what's happening to you? He turned, heart pounding, body trembling. I'm not sure, but I think I've already chosen. Malira's silhouette appeared inside the glowing shell of the ship. She held out her hand. Come, before they shut us down again. Jack ran toward her, toward the light. The genetic key. Jack couldn't move. His body floated, suspended in warm light, as if the laws of gravity had given up. A soft vibration resonated through his chest, like a low hum carried through bones. Around him, the ship was alive, not blinking with machinery or beeping controls, but pulsing softly like a sleeping heart. He didn't remember stepping fully into the ship. One moment, Malira had taken his hand. The next, the outside world had faded like smoke. His clothes were gone. His skin was bare, but not cold. Instead, he was wrapped in something intangible. Energy, memory. He looked around on walls. No floor. Only endless shimmering white. Then the space bent, folding like water disturbed by a pebble. And a figure appeared. Malira, but not as she was before. This Malira was younger, wearing flowing silver robes, standing tall beneath alien stars. A red moon glowed behind her, casting the desert landscape in a strange blush. Jack blinked. Is this a dream? No, she said, though her voice echoed from all directions. This is memory. You asked who I was. I will show you. Suddenly, the vision shifted. The stars above melted into a city made of glass and song towers that rose in spiral patterns, glowing veins of light running along their edges. Strange creatures walked side by side, some humanoid, some ethereal, some floating without feet, and among them, humans. At least, they looked human. Malira walked among them, speaking a language Jack didn't recognize, and yet, he understood it. Your people were not born on Earth, she said. Now beside him, they were planted there. Of us, escaped, exiled, left behind. You call it evolution. We called it mercy. Jack stared. You're saying humans are part alien? She nodded. The Council forbade fusion. They feared it would weaken the purity of form, but some of us disagreed. We believed in the chaos of life, in imperfection, in the potential of emotional beings. He followed her through the scene. He saw younger Malira laughing with a man who looked unmistakably human. She touched his face gently. Jack's stomach twisted as something inside him ached. He was the first, she said softly, and the last, until you. The scene changed, again sudden, violent. Fires in the city, ships streaking across the sky, screams alien and human alike. A trial. Malira stood bound in light before a council of tall, faceless beings. Her sentence, exile. Sealed in stone, buried on a distant planet where her only crime had been loving something different. They erased me, but they couldn't erase the bond. Jack's chest burned. The mark over his heart pulsed again. He gasped and the memory faded. He fell, gasping, onto solid ground inside the ship once more. Malira was there, her real form this time. Still alien, still glowing. But now Jack saw the loneliness in her eyes. The weight of waiting for someone who might never come. He sat up, swallowing. You've been down there for 1,000 years, waiting for someone with the right DNA. Yes, but not just any DNA. The bond only activates with a lineage carrying memory echo. Bloodlines that carry the faint imprint of connection. Jack stared. You mean me? You're descended from him. The first. It was impossible, illogical, undeniable. But before Jack could speak again, alarms blared across the chamber. A red pulse flickered through the ship. The floor rumbled beneath him. Malira turned sharply. They're trying to breach the temple. Who? Your kind. The ones above. Jack rushed to a glowing console that formed from the floor, pulsing under his fingers. Symbols rearranged themselves. A display unfolded a view of the dig site from above. Military vehicles, dozens of them, men in armor with rifles, lights scanning the ruins, loudspeakers calling for surrender. And then, Dr. Vasquez held at gunpoint. They brought the military. Jack choked. They fear what they do not understand. We have to help her. We can't just stay down here. Malira stepped forward. If I leave this chamber now, the bond will break. The temple will collapse. Everything I've preserved, all I've shown you, will die. Jack clenched his fists. Then we find another way. We can't let them destroy this. There is one way. She turned to face a dark panel at the edge of the ship. It split open, revealing a small, crystalline chamber, just large enough for one person. This vessel is not just memory, it is evolution. It can bind us fully, merge our minds, our memories, our DNA. If we become one, I can leave this ship without dying, and you will become more than you are. Jack stepped back. Merge, like permanently. Your form will remain, but your thoughts will carry mine. You will be host and guest, pilot and guardian. Two minds, one soul. He stared at the chamber. Inside, the crystal shimmered softly, inviting, but terrifying. And if I refuse, then I return to stone. You return to flesh. They take me, and the truth dies with us both. He didn't move for a long time. Outside, the soldiers were closing in. Voices barked through radios. Helicopters thundered above the dig site. Inside, Malira waited, calm, patient, resigned. Jack exhaled slowly. If I do this, need one thing. Say it. No tricks, no control. I want to know your thoughts. I want them to be ours, not just yours in my head. Equal. Malira smiled faintly, and it was the first truly human expression he'd seen her make. Agreed. Jack stepped into the chamber. The crystal folded around him. Warmth surged through his limbs. His skin glowed, veins shimmering with silver blue light. His heartbeat synced with something ancient. Malira placed her hand over the pod. Close your eyes. He did, and the world exploded. Visions tore through him. Languages he never learned. Emotions not his. Battles fought on frozen moons. Stars dying in silence. Music of alien instruments. Memories layered over his own. Not overwritten - combined. He saw Earth from space, not through cameras, but through her eyes. He saw himself, his childhood, his pain, his laughter through her heart, and he saw what was coming. A war not yet on Earth's doorstep, but moving toward it, silent, patient, inevitable. The pod opened. Jack gasped, collapsing forward onto his knees. But when he stood, he was more. His eyes shimmered faintly, his posture straighter, his senses clearer. He could feel her inside him, not whispering, but waiting, supporting, a passenger beside his thoughts. We are one now. And then he felt something else, someone trying to break in. Jack turned to the console. They've made it into the chamber. They're going to breach the ship. Let them. He raised his hand toward the interface. It responded instantly. Symbols pulsed. Panels moved, a doorway opened, and Jack walked out, glowing alive, changed. The soldiers froze, guns aimed at him, confused shouts, but then they saw her behind him, Melira floating slightly, eyes aglow, silent, not threatening, not angry, just there. The soldiers didn't shoot, not yet, and Jack raised his voice. Put the weapons down. I can explain, but you have to listen. The hidden ship guns were pointed at Jack's face. Rows of soldiers stood, frozen, fingers tight around triggers, uncertain whether to fire or run. Jack stood between them and Melira, who hovered behind him with eerie grace, her luminous body casting reflections across the stone walls. He felt them both, their fear and her calm. Do not provoke them, Melira said gently inside his thoughts. They act out of instinct. Jack raised both hands. I'm not your enemy. She's not your enemy. Back away from it, a commander barked. Get on your knees, now. Jack's voice remained firm. You don't understand. She's not a threat. She's history, living memory. She's been here longer than we've existed as a species. The soldiers hesitated. Vasquez pushed through them, her face pale, eyes locked on the faint glow beneath Jack's skin. Jack, she whispered. What have you done? Jack turned to her. I didn't lose my mind, Vasquez. I found it, and a part of our past we were never supposed to forget. Then, before anyone could move, the floor shifted. The stone beneath them groaned, split open, and a massive platform rose, shaking dust from the chamber walls. The soldiers stumbled back as the ancient floor cracked like an eggshell, revealing an enormous spiral staircase descending deeper underground. Melira's voice filled the loud but resonant. The vault was only the gate. The vessel lies below. Jack turned to Vasquez. Come with us. See it for yourself. The commander objected immediately, barking orders to detain Jack. But as two soldiers stepped forward, their weapons suddenly fizzled out. Power drained from them in an instant. Melira lowered her hand, her eyes never flashing with a quiet control. No harm, only silence. Jack nodded at Vasquez. Please, just trust me once more. Trembling, Vasquez finally stepped forward. If this gets me court-martialed, you better save the universe, Jack. The descent took 10 minutes. Long enough for Jack to wonder what they were about to find. Long enough for the soldiers to call for backup that couldn't reach them. Long enough for his pulse to settle, even as Melira's presence pressed gently at the edge of his thoughts. And when they reached the bottom, the air changed. It was heavier, not in pressure, but meaning. And there it was, the vessel, the size of a skyscraper, shaped like a sleeping leviathan. Its surface shimmered like obsidian water, yet was visibly metal. It had no engines, no thrusters, no seams, only a single entry point, shaped like a tear suspended in midair. Jack's mouth went dry. This was under earth the whole time. It is one of many, but the last that remembers how to awaken. Vasquez stared, speechless. This thing's buried beneath a mountain. How does it even fly? It doesn't, Jack murmured. It moves through space like thought, like memory. Melira stepped toward the tear-shaped entrance, and it parted silently, allowing them inside. The interior was nothing like the temple. There were no consoles, no controls, just smooth corridors, living walls, and pulses of light that followed them like watchful eyes. This ship responds to will, Melira explained. It is not piloted, it is understood. Jack glanced back at Vasquez, who was recording everything, but with hands shaking. This is beyond anything we've ever found. Beyond Roswell, the Baltic anomaly, even Rendlesham. It makes all those look like fables, because they were, Jack said quietly. Scraps, covered up. This was the truth they didn't want to face. They followed Melira to a vast chamber, circular, filled with floating strands of light, memories, dozens, hundreds, some human, some not. Melira reached out and touched one. The strand turned into a holographic galaxy, projected in full before them, and then it zoomed into a barren planet orbiting a dying red star. This is Curthalis, she said, the origin world of my kind, and yours. Jack's breath caught. Wait, you said we came from Earth. You were seeded there, long ago, after Curthalis was lost. The image shifted again. A war, planets exploding, civilizations falling. My people were once vast, but we became obsessed with purity, with separation. Emotions were discarded, love, banned, connection, criminalized. She turned to Jack. But I chose differently. I chose your kind. Jack stepped closer. Drawn in, you chose love. She nodded, and I was punished. But you were preserved. Not all of us agreed with the purge. Some left pieces of our world inside you. Vasquez blinked slowly. That's why your DNA syncs with his. He's not unique. Just one of the few whose bloodline wasn't thinned out. Exactly. Jack stared at the floating lights. Each one, a story, a life. You said there were others, other ships. Melira nodded solemnly. Scattered, buried, most silent, some still dreaming, but now, this one is awake. And the others will feel it. Just then the entire vessel shuddered. Lights rippled across the chamber, like disturbed water. They've activated a lockdown field above, Melira said urgently. The humans fear what they cannot control. Vasquez's communicator buzzed. With panicked voices, target has vanished underground. No signal. Orders are shifting. If they try to leave, we're greenlit to engage. Over. Jack looked at her. They're going to fire on us. Vasquez lowered her face pale. They think this is an invasion. Jack turned to Melira. Can this ship leave Earth? Melira slowly walked toward the chamber wall. It became transparent. The ground above them faded from view, placed by stars. Not fly. Depart. And then, with no tremor, no sound, the ship moved. The stars blurred. Earth shrank behind them. We're in space. Vasquez collapsed onto a bench, eyes wide. I'm going to be sick. Jack gripped the edge of a panel. The Earth hung behind them like a blue marble, silent and bright. He just took us off the planet. They left no choice. Melira stood at the front, gazing into space. But now that we have left, others will sense the signal. And the silence will end. Jack stepped forward. Where are we going? Melira looked over her shoulder. To Catellis, there is something you must see. Something your kind forgot. The ship pulsed again, faster now. Lights aligned in a spiraling pattern ahead, like a tunnel unfolding in the vacuum. Jack said cautiously, "Are we ready for this?" She stepped beside him, placed her hand on his chest on the glowing mark. "We are now. The world that forgot us. There were no stars where they arrived. Only silence, darkness." Jack stared through the ship's translucent hull, gripping the edge of a railing as reality seemed to fold around them. The stars, once scattered like diamonds, had thinned out here. This place sat on the edge of the galaxy, where time itself felt like it was waiting. "We're not in a star system," Jack whispered. "Where are we?" Melira stood beside him, her glowing eyes fixed on the swirling blackness ahead. "We are home." And then, it appeared Carthelus, a massive world, larger than Earth, suspended in shadow. Its surface shimmered faintly, like cooled obsidian, laced with cracks of molten silver. Rings of broken satellites and debris circled its upper atmosphere like the bones of an ancient beast. Jack's breath caught. "It's dead." Melira's voice was quiet now, dormant, sleeping. "Not everything that ends is dead." The ship began to descend. Through the clouds of ash and silver mist, Jack saw what remained of a civilization. Towers that rose like spines from the cracked earth. Entire cities petrified in time. Some of the buildings shimmered faintly, sustained by ancient energy fields that flickered in and out of view, like memories trying not to fade. They landed atop a circular platform surrounded by 6 colossal statues, each one larger than skyscrapers, depicting humanoid figures. One of them was Maleriang radiant, her hands raised as if holding up the sky. Jack stepped onto the ground. The air was breathable, but heavy, thick with history. Vasquez followed behind, still shaken. "Jack, this place shouldn't exist. It's like walking through mythology." Jack agreed, but his heartbeat had already synced with the pulse beneath the stone, the same rhythm as Melira's ship. He felt the pull of something calling him forward. "The memory core is this way," Melira said. "What remains of our history, and your origin." They walked through a shattered city, once elegant and flowing with light, now cracked and half swallowed by black sand. Faint echoes of voices whispered through the air recordings, memories or ghosts. Jack couldn't tell. They stopped at a great dome, half buried and glowing with dim blue light. Melira reached out and placed her hand on the surface. The door dissolved into mist. Inside was a hall of lights, floating crystal orbs like fireflies, suspended mid-air. Each orb spun with fragments of memory, some showing war, others peace, others love. "This is where I was born," Melira said, "and where everything changed." Jack approached one orb that showed a human infant, crying, but unmistakably human being, held by two glowing alien figures. He was the first, Jack asked. Malira nodded. He was born of us. And something more. The first hybrid, a child of rebellion. The next orb showed that same child, older, held in Malira's arms, laughing, then running, then vanishing, ripped from her during the uprising. They called him a mistake, a corruption. But I remembered his smile. Jack stepped away. His throat tightened. Malira turned to face him fully. You carry his blood, Jack. That child was your ancestor. That's why the temple responded to you, why the ship awakened. You are the echo that answered my weight. Jack staggered. I'm not just some match. I'm part of him. You are him, in a way. Different, changed, but connected through time, blood, and memory. Vasquez was silent, her gaze moving from orb to orb. If humans came from here, then Earth's entire history is built on forgetting. Malira nodded. You were not meant to remember. We buried the truth to protect it. But now, the forgetting has reached its end. Jack turned toward the far end of the chamber, where a larger orb pulsed softly red and violent. He reached out. Malira stepped forward, alarmed. That one is not for, but his hand touched it, and the world shattered. Flashes, planets burning, armies marching under black banners, ships blotted out stars, beings with empty ice-corrupted versions of Malira's kind, gathering around a sphere of void. The purifiers, Malira said. Inside his mind, those who rejected all fusion, who believed even remembering was blasphemy. They are coming. Earth is not forgotten to them. Jack fell back, gasping. You didn't just bring me here for history, he realized. You brought me here to prepare for war. Malira looked almost mournful. Not war. Choice. She turned toward the center of the chamber. A platform rose, revealing a small silver capsule, smooth, humming softly. This is the seed, the last viable gene core of my kind. It contains the consciousness of our past and the potential for the future. She looked at Jack. You can take it back to Earth. Plant it. Let it merge. Humanity will change, evolve. No more forgetting. No more lies. Jack felt cold. You're asking me to rewrite our species. Malira stepped closer. No, I'm asking you to choose whether we remain separate or become whole again. Vasquez stepped forward. You can't make that decision alone, Jack. Jack didn't answer. He was staring at the seed, his chest tight. Inside him, Malira's presence pulsed, pushing, but offering. Suddenly, the entire building shook. Sirens blinked, light twisted. Jack rushed outside. The sky above was turning red. In orbit, dozens of shapes were arriving. Sharp, angular vessels, black and spined, descending like shadows. The purifier's voice was firm. They sensed the ship. They followed us. Vasquez backed away. We have to go, now. But Malira didn't move. If we leave, they will follow us to Earth. If we stay, we may not survive. Jack clenched his fists. There's got to be another option. Malira stared at him. There is one. If I stay and reconnect with the planet's core, I can reawaken the planetary defense. A shield strong enough to buy you time. Jack stepped forward. You mean sacrifice yourself? Not death. Not exactly. I will merge fully with Kurthlis. My form will dissolve. My memories will remain. But I will not return. Jack's heart cracked. But we just found each other. She stepped close. That is why I trust you. She placed the silver capsule in his hand. It vibrated, warm, alive. You must take the ship. You must decide for Earth. Preserve the past, or build a new future. Jack turned to Vasquez. We leave now. The three of them ran toward the ship as the ground quaked and the sky turned to fire. Jack paused at the ramp. Looking back, Malira stood in the ruins, her light growing brighter. She smiled. Remember me. And then the ramp closed. The ship rose into the air as red beams of destruction rained down behind them. Jack gripped the capsule tight against his chest. In his mind, her voice whispered one last time. The future is yours now. Choose it well. The choice that echoed the ship returned to Earth in silence. No war drums, no welcome, no news broadcasts flashing alien contact. Just clouds parting above the Pacific, and the faint hum of energy gently folding space around them. Jack stood near the console, gripping the silver seed capsule tightly, the last living memory of a forgotten civilization and the potential future of humanity. Malira's presence was gone. The quiet inside his mind now felt heavier than noise. You must decide for Earth. Her final words echoed, not as a command, as a gift. They landed far from the dig site, on a remote coastal cliff in southern Chile, where no military patrols or satellite eyes would find them. The ship went dark, hiding itself once more beneath the soil. Vasquez sat against a rock, silent, gazing at the crashing waves. Jack hadn't spoken since they left Carthalis. Finally, she asked, "You still hear her?" Jack shook his head. "No, not since we took off. It's like she really merged with that place, and the seed." Vasquez nodded toward the object in his hand. "It's still alive. I can feel it, like a heart beating." Vasquez leaned forward. "Jack, you can't just bury it. You saw what it holds. You said it could evolve us." "It could," Jack agreed quietly. "Or it could erase us, change what we are." She stared at him. "So, what are you going to do?" Jack looked down at the capsule. It glowed softly, as if it sensed the question too. That night, Jack sent a single encrypted message to a friend at an independent observatory. A geologist, not a government insider. Trusted. The coordinates were simple. Latitude -27.1150, longitude 70.7860. Atacama Desert, a place where the soil was dry enough to preserve secrets. And then he waited. 3 weeks later, it began. Whispers. Online leaks. Anomalies in seismic readings. Talk of a new magnetic pulse beneath the Earth's crust. Some claimed it was a glitch. Others said it was the awakening of something ancient. Jack remained silent. He had buried the seed, not inside a lab, not inside a facility, but into the planet itself, deep beneath the sands, near where Melira had first awakened. No fanfare, no speeches, no monuments. Just memory, planted like a tree, and the Earth began to remember. By month 4, people started to change, not visibly, not drastically, but subtly. Emotional intuition deepened. Children reported strange dreams filled with glowing cities and silver trees. Some individuals began to draw symbols they'd never seen before, glyphs from Melira's world. Others began to feel connected in new ways, bold to sense the emotions of strangers, or predict decisions before they were made. Vasquez called it echo-evolution. Jack didn't call it anything. He watched and waited. By year 1, the governments caught on. Global agencies labeled it the shift. Theories exploded. Alien contagion, biochemical tampering, electromagnetic mutagenesis. But none could explain why the changes were peaceful, harmonizing, why violence dropped, why empathy soared, why war zones went quiet without negotiation. Some tried to resist, others worshipped it. Jack did neither, because he remembered the choice, and he remembered her. One afternoon, he returned to the dig site. Everything had changed. The chamber was buried again. The spiral staircase had collapsed. The military presence was gone. All that remained was a single stone, a statue, half submerged in the sand, not of Melira, of himself, carved perfectly, one hand outstretched, palm up, the same gesture Melira had made the first time he saw her. Jack stared at it for a long time. Vasquez stepped beside him, now working for a humanitarian research foundation monitoring the shift. "You know what they're calling you out there?" she asked. He didn't answer. "They're calling you the bridge, the one who connected our past with our future." He smiled faintly, shaking his head. "I'm not a savior, I just listened." She looked at the statue. "You made a choice." "Yeah," he whispered, "and I hope it was the right one." That night, Jack dreamed for the first time in weeks. He stood in a field of silver trees, under a violet sky, and across from him stood Melira, smiling, not glowing. Just real. Her eyes were soft. Her voice no longer echoed in his mind, it simply was. "You chose not to change them by force," she said. "You gave them the seed, and trusted them to grow." Jack nodded. "Was that the wrong call?" he asked. Melira stepped closer, took his hand. It was the most human call, and the most hopeful. She looked upward toward stars he didn't recognize. "Others are watching now, listening. The shift is a signal. Earth is not forgotten anymore." Jack followed her gaze. In the sky, lights flickered, dozens of them moving slowly, purposefully. Other worlds, other voices. "What now?" he asked. Melira smiled again. "Now, you find each other, across the stars, across the silence. And you remind them." She leaned in, whispered, "that to forget is a choice, and to remember is love." Jack woke with tears in his eyes. Outside his window, a child was drawing spiral glyphs in the sand. Two neighbors who had never spoken were planting a garden together. A radio reported that tribal leaders in 3 countries were offering to share land. Jack stood, stretched, and looked at the clear blue sky. Somewhere, out there, across galaxies, they remembered and Earth, finally, was learning to do the same. The end.